stated, and that our space is grid in the Christ consciousness today, and that we have a ban of non-interference, please. And it says that we're live. I just want to check. I don't see us on, but sometimes I have a hard time seeing these things, so I'm just going to double check, and so we can answer your guys' questions. And do you,
Yeah, we're not going to be speaking about what's happening in the American elections.
No, we're not. But
I've had enough of it.
I have too. I've had so much enough of it. Okay, there we are. I just wanted to make sure that I had it pulled up so I can see where people's questions are, and as people come in. So yeah, this is all going to be focused on who we are, what we're in control of. And so I'm going to open up as we're waiting for people to pop on here. It's showing that we are on live. One of my favorite things, pieces of research that I have found to be truthful, is something called the Ascension Glossary. And the Ascension Glossary is written by a woman named Lisa Renee. She's at energeticsynthesis.com. And because we're going to be talking about the holographic realities, I just wanted to make a comment from her. It's in the Ascension Glossary, and it's about human consciousness as it's a holographic light projector. So it says the human body is a holographic light projector. The human central nervous system processes electrical impulses transmitted from the DNA code, which further neurologically transmits to the brain the instruction sets to perceive external images as a context for reality. A person can only experience the levels of multidimensional reality that has been programmed into the DNA code and the person's 12-tree grid, which is the holographic template. And before I have you share about the holographic templating, I love what you call it, you say creating your destiny. I want to talk about how we've been separated from our actual soul, and how we've actually been given this template that is wrong because the math is wrong. And that would be, if correct me if I'm wrong, the Sephiroth or something like that. I'm not sure how to say it, but they say, we have a base 10 math, and that, our actual holographic grid is 10, has 10 spheres and not 12, and, so on and so forth. So anyway, what we want to, I'm just kind of tossing this out here because, some people get really stuck on if they make mathematical equations, they're kind of using the wrong basis for what we're going to talk about and how that's going to go. But anyway, so welcome, Colin. Can you share with us how do we connect to our soul to then create our realities? I'm not sure I'm asking that exactly how, but how can you, I know that this is all measurable, and so how do we measure our realities?
Yeah, there is a tangible structure to the soul. There is a construct around which the soul works. It's been hidden from mankind for a long time, but many people are now coming out and explaining how it all works. And my higher selves also explained this, that the soul is the conscious observer of their own reality, but they're not only observing their reality, they're creating it. Mm. And they create it at the time when they're observing it. So how you observe your reality and what you observe and how you interpret your reality will determine what you're going to experience in your reality, because it's a two-way street. We think that we're only receiving light from outside through the eye, and that we're not sending anything out. But in fact, the two are happening simultaneously. What I'm observing I am creating, because how I interpret what I observe creates what I observe.
Yeah.
And so we can change our reality. And that's what we're going to deal with tonight, the topic called creating your own destiny and experiencing your own reality. Now let's look at the soul. Now, what is the soul? The soul is energy. It's the energy that runs our consciousness. And there is a certain structure uh, from where it's created. The soul is created by waves of light and sound that intersect. They create a spark. The spark creates quantum. And when that spark is created, the conscious observer is created. And this doesn't only apply to humans. Anything that is consciously aware is created in this way. So that's everything. Everything
But
around us
even
is a
even
soul.
animals, even trees,
Even rocks, even water, amoeba, insects, vegetation,
oh,
everything is created in that way. And within their soul structure, there's something called soul codes. And the soul codes will correspond with their DNA codes in their body, the DNA in their body. We have two different kinds of DNA. We've got genetic DNA and we've got what they call junk DNA. Now, the genetic DNA carries the information of our lineage, our genealogy from our parents and grandparents and so on. And the soul, the junk DNA carries the information regarding our soul history. So one is the history of our parenting and our family lineage, and the other one is the history of our souls. But, science is beginning to discover something about junk DNA, but they still don't know what it is. That's why they call it junk DNA.
right.
But the body actually has about 90% junk DNA and only about 10% genetic DNA. So there are two kinds now. The DNA in our bodies correspond to what are called soul codes in the soul. So the soul actually manufactures the body by the soul codes that are held in the body. So that enables us to observe what we observe through the lens of those soul codes.
Mm.
And that creates our reality. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really very fascinating. So that would mean that whatever I am thinking at the moment, or feeling, or whatever I've carried with me, that's going to create um, that's going to create me to create anything I want, create a place of anger or create a place of happiness.
Yeah.
Um,
It creates our potential, probability, and possibility. What we think. We'll get more into that later. But just on the soul, it's important that people understand that the soul is a measurable and visible thing. It's not visible to the eyes, but through Korean photography, they've actually photographed when the soul leaves the body when we die. They've photographed a person dying, and I've got it on my website. You can see this when the person dies. This energy, this field, this plasma body leaves the body,
yeah.
and so it's the soul that provides the energy for the body. When the body's no longer able to carry the soul leaves the body and the body dies. That's really the definition of death. It's the body that dies, the soul doesn't die.
Yeah. And the
The soul,
soul and the soul holds all of those DNA structures, is what you're saying. You're all of those. Um,
yeah,
okay.
because there's something called soul evolution.
Yeah.
So we evolve through amoeba, become bacteria, but bacteria become germs, viruses, we become we become fish or some sort of plankton or some sort of life form, and that life form, you know, evolves over many lifetimes to become something like a crustacean or a fish.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then the fish will evolve into becoming uh, uh, an animal, or a land-based animal, or an amphibious animal like a seal. Seals can live on land and they can live in the sea. And some fish remain in the sea and continue their entire soul evolution underwater. Okay, so that's why whales and dolphins are so intelligent and so advanced in their intelligence, that they are very evolved souls, and they're probably more evolved than many humans are.
This is, I don't mean to interrupt. This is so interesting to me because then it makes me start to think about Darwinism, right? And I don't know much about that. I just know the basics. But is it basically that you know, we all as a soul then have to incarnate as some type of um, lower, well, my human brain would say lower formed, you know, substance or whatever. And if that's the case, um, this makes me think even more of the soul, because like I know not everybody is a star seed, right? I know that I am. I know, you know, where I'm from and all of that stuff, but I know there were earth original earth beings here too. So is there a different process for star seeds and than there are earth beings in order to connect to their soul, or you know, do they all have to go through the same soul process? Is that making sense?
What happens with star seeds and indigos who are incarnate here? They incarnate for different purposes, but you know, the star seeds are more magnetic beings. They mainly come from the Pleiades, but there are also Arcturians who come, star seeds who come from Arcturus, and then you get the indigos who come from Sirius B. And when they incarnate, they agree in their pre-incarnational contracts, they agree to come here and to do certain work and to be certain things. Many of the indigos and starseeds have not woken up yet. They don't know who they are. They're still struggling being human and being in human form. But those who are awakened and awakening begin to remember where they came from, and they have a higher DNA potential. Okay, now in our DNA, in our soul bodies, all humans, well, all real humans, because there are many humans on this planet who are not humans,
Yeah.
all real humans, angelic humans, have a 12-strand DNA template.
Okay.
Okay, and over their lifetimes, they've activated certain strands of this so-called code template. So some star seeds and indigos incarnate already have a 4.5 to 5-strand DNA potential, some up 6, 7, 8, but those would be very advanced beings. So we arrive here with that potential in our soul bodies, but we have to raise our frequencies into that potential.
Mhm.
Okay, now when I say raise our frequencies, I'm not talking about raising the frequency. We have to get onto a higher frequency.
Right. And this was what we were talking about last week, right? The difference
Yeah,
between the frequency, as in keeping your frequency even keel, versus, you know, people think that raising their frequency is like, you know, raising up here, when that would kind of be madness, right? And I forgot what the word is that you said it was, right when you come up onto the peak of something. What was that called?
yeah, it's amplitude.
Amplitude. Thank you.
So
Thank
you go on, the frequency of your wave goes onto a higher amplitude. It doesn't go, it's not like high frequency means it's vibrating very fast.
you.
In
Mhm.
fact, we have to lower our frequencies in terms of our vibration and increase our amplitude,
Right. Right.
increase the size of the wave. Now, I'll explain that probably we should go into, I explain timelines and how timelines work, because our experiences are in something we call time. And time is just a sequence of moments that we experience in our lives. Okay, it's the best example of this I can give people if they want to understand this is when you make a film, a movie, the film goes and has different frames to the film. Each, the film is just a sequence of frames, and it gets thrown through light, and that light causes us to see a movie, motion picture. And so each sequence of that, each frame of that movie is like a moment of time. And our time is just a sequence of different experiences which can be measured in, and they hold information, and the information they hold is light and sound. So as the movie is running, it's throwing light out, and you can see the movie, and it's got a sound track where you hear the sound in the movie. So we have those two primary experiences of light and sound. And the light information is electric, and the thought information is magnetic. I mean, the emotional information is magnetic. So we have thought electric, emotion magnetic, and these two things are happening simultaneously. So we're experiencing our experiences in time, which are just a series of information, frames of information going through sprockets of the movie.
What would happen if someone had more magnetic? Like, what happens if it's unbalanced? Is that going to create then the distortions that we see in the third dimensional reality?
Yeah. If you have, say, you have, like most men, most of my life, I was head based. All my information was head based. There was very little. I never listened to my heart. I never listened to my emotions. I was taught as a child, cowboys don't cry, don't express any emotions, suppress your emotions, and be a good boy. And so that's what I did for many years. But it's like when you're watching the movie, the light is the information. The light is the information, electric information, which is what the head information is on. But if you don't have the emotion, you won't have any sound to the movie.
Interesting. Now I'm picturing those old black and whites with the no sound, right? It's a perfect example.
So,
Nice.
these two primary energies that we hold in our soul bodies are light and sound.
Mm-hmm.
Light being electric and sound being magnetic. And they create an electromagnetic field of energy that is in our body and around our bodies, and it's called the soul. And it's a visible thing that you can actually photograph the soul, the aura around the body,
Right.
the energy around the body. There are many different new photographic systems you can use now to actually photograph the aura. And there are even some devices that you can hold certain electrodes in your hand, and that will give you a picture display on your computer of what is happening in your electromagnetic body, the aura.
Interesting. And there are some humans, well, I guess they're probably more starseed humans, but that can see with their own eyes. I mean, it's an inner eye, right? I mean, some of them actually can see it just looking at somebody. They can see all of that stuff. I know that's how I work on people. I don't see you and see colors, but I feel them, right? So or I feel what's happening. And so it's interesting that we don't understand that we are technology,
Yeah.
that we don't understand that we don't have to have a camera. We actually are designed to be that camera or that lens or sense or whatever. What would you have to say about that?
Yeah. And we have something called free will.
Yeah.
You know, we don't exercise our free will in a self-fulfilling way. We exercise our free will in a self-defeating way.
Yeah.
And what I mean by self-defeating, we are told certain information where our thoughts are controlled, our emotions are controlled, that keeps us on a very low frequency timeline. And so we're not creating our own reality. We have in our reality, we are creating our reality, but the reality we're creating is a reality that's been scripted by somebody else. And they are telling us what this movie is that we're watching, and they want us to create more of their movie. So
Yes.
that's how they're trying to control us. And you can see it now in the US elections. You know, the mainstream media comes out with a narrative, and, you know, they present a narrative, and everyone must just nod their heads and say, yes, sir, that's three bags full, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we have that all the time from big tech, mainstream media, the deep state, the Illuminati, the entertainment industry,
Medical industry, religion.
religion, all of that. It's all a big fat lie, and it's a propaganda machine to keep us dumbed down so that we can't walk our own destiny. We are walking somebody else's destiny, and we don't know it. People
That's
don't know
Well, they
it.
don't. And I see it every day, and it makes me really sad. I feel really lucky because I came in being able to see these structures, being able to watch television and go, what how, I can read those energy signatures naturally, but not a lot of people can. And
Yeah.
it's really I don't want to say devastating because I don't want to align myself with that, but it has been challenging to, especially in such an important time as of right now, at the end of this planetary cycle, you call it ascension cycle, planetary, whatever you want to call it, that with all of the evidence right there, right at your fingertips, right? That people can read something or listen to even you and I speak, and they'll hear something completely different. And that's because of the mind control. Now, is it fair to say that mind control then is a holographic insert into our hologram?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Mind control presents us with information, so we are projecting
yeah,
a holographic insert into our own reality
yes,
instead of living our own reality.
yes.
Because when we're born here, we're stripped of our sovereignty, and we become, we incorporate it as a corporation. Our names are capital letters, and we go into what is called the birth registry, and then we fall under, our parents agree to enter us into the system by entering us into the birth registry. So without our knowledge, without our consent, we're entered into the system until we say we don't give consent.
Until we say we don't give consent. And then how does somebody who claims their sovereignty, that's a whole nother issue. How do you step into your soul and rid yourself of these holograms, these holographic inserts and this mind control, and claim your sovereignty and still live in a third dimensional world where people can't see this, or they hold on. I mean, these constructs are so real.
Yeah. Well, the, the, we have these 12 timelines of potential, okay? Initially, there are 12 timelines of potential. For every thought and emotion, there are 12 timelines of potential. And for each of those 12 timelines of potential, the 12 timelines of probability. And that makes 144 different probabilities. And then for each timeline of probability, there are 12 timelines of possibility. And each one is on a different frequency. And so we have 1,728 timelines running simultaneously. And we as angelic humans used to have the ability to go into any one of those timelines and experience ourselves however we wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've lost this ability because we're being kept in these low frequency timelines. Now, the timelines of potential are determined by our thoughts and emotions. Okay, and you can see this very clearly. Your potential as a human being is determined by your thoughts and your emotions. So if you think you can't do something, it's too difficult to do, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right. I tell my daughter, she says, I can't do it. It's too hard. And I say, baby girl, you can do hard things. Like,
Yeah.
this is okay. Like, you know, we get that into our mind. This is kind of, you know, mind bending is going to be mind bending for some, right? I know, like, I can go into timelines. I can see them in people's structures, right? And so that's how we can go in and heal certain things. But how do I change my my timeline? Like, how, if I say I don't want to be in this third dimensional construct, but I don't want to drop my body, can I just be on a different timeline, or is that not really how it works? Right? Because that's, you know, people are going to wonder that.
You have to be a conscious traveler. So you have to travel through the timelines consciously and with conscious awareness. So in the 12 timelines of potential, they're determined by our thoughts and emotions. So we can maybe think positive thoughts, have, you know, positive emotions instead of reacting negatively with anger or fear or jealousy or lust or greed. We can learn to respond with better emotional responses that are self-fulfilling rather than self-defeating. So then we get to 144 timelines of probability. Now, probability timelines are determined by our values and standards. And so we kept them down here. Our emotions and thoughts are controlled. We have low standards and values. Okay, and so we're on this low frequency of probability. Now, to raise your frequency of probability, you have to raise your standards and values. So you have to have higher values. You have to say, I don't believe in war. I don't believe in killing other people. I don't believe I'm separated from the rest of the universe. I believe I'm one with all creatures, and I treat everybody with love and respect and kindness. And, you know, for me, the only thing that's acceptable to me is love. So if I experience anything less than love, that is not acceptable to me. And people have to raise the standard up into that higher level of loving and being kind and respectful towards each other in order to reach, you know, higher probabilities. Now, when it comes to possibilities, the possibilities are determined by our attitudes. And you say, well, what does that mean? Attitude is the way you respond. So it's your response mechanism in your body that determines the possibility. For instance, if someone comes to me and says, please, sir, can you lend me some money? And I say, no, I haven't got money. Don't bother me. I don't want to speak to you. Go away. That attitude is an attitude which goes against the principle of grace.
Right.
And grace is unmerited favor. And grace is the way the universe actually works. It's a gracious universe. It gives us all the time. But because we're used to this rejection when we ask for things, we don't ask for the things, we don't ask the universe for the things we really would like. we dumb down into this, well, I might be rejected. No, I'm not going to accept Peter. Instead of being gracious, when that man asked me for money, I say, of course, if I've got money, I can give you money. I don't think about what about tomorrow, because
Right.
tomorrow, the universe is grace. The universe will provide for me tomorrow. So I don't think about the cost. It's the act of giving, the act of being grateful for this other person, the act of acknowledging this other person, the act of respecting this other person, the act of being kind and being joyous. So I give with joy. Yes, you can have, sure. And developing those attitudes is mastery. And on my website, I've got a page called the Attitudes of Mastery.
Oh,
So people can go there and browse through them and discover all these wonderful attitudes that we can develop that will raise us onto higher timelines of possibility,
yeah.
where you begin to understand that nothing is impossible.
Nothing.
Everything is
Yes.
possible.
Yes. It's, I hear people often say like, they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Uh, it's they think that words and actions don't necessarily have to add up. So somebody will be like, well, I just did this really great thing, or I've been meditating for a week now, and I still have this crappy life, right? Like, why is the universe against me? And they just, they're like, I'm kind, I'm generous, I just donated all this money and I'm still getting crapped on. I hear this all the time. And, or somebody that says, well, I've done all this healing work, I'm done now, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, that's the first step of you're nowhere near done. But
Yeah.
like, how can, what are some tools, and you have your website page, Attitudes of Mastery, but is there something like in the moment, just like in the moment where you're feeling defeated, or you feel like you don't have anything to give, like money to the man on the street, or even a kind word to your child who's throwing a fit, right? What in the moment, can somebody, and I want to give people something just to take away like real quick today, like what can they do to like immediately change that perception of their reality?
Yeah. Like I said, you have to live consciously.
Hmm.
If people just think they are having thoughts and having feelings, instead of saying, I am creating my thoughts and feelings, I am creating my own reality. If they don't live consciously, life happens to you. You
Yes.
don't live life, it just happens to you.
Mhm.
You have to live consciously every day of your life, thinking, what am I thinking? Where does this thought come from? Who put it there? Did I put it there? Is it my authentic thought? Is it in integrity with my own values and standards? So we have to live consciously, and uh, and in that living consciously, it's a constant examination of my thoughts and emotions, my values and my attitudes, and say, how can I improve? How can I improve my attitudes? How can I improve my standards? How can I, next time I want to do it differently, how do I do it? So by living consciously, you can recognize the things that you have done wrong, but don't recognize them as doing wrong. You just said it was bad behavior. It was me behaving like the old self. It's
Yes.
not it's not my new self. And one has to say, make a conscious choice that from now on, I'm going to live to this standard. Anything less than love is not acceptable,
Yeah.
not to me or from me.
Yeah.
So I don't accept it from other people, and I don't give it to other people. I don't give them anything less than love. And when we raise our standards of value, live in this conscious way, it becomes quite easy, but it takes a lot of practice.
It does.
And yeah, and people have to, start journaling,
Mhm.
and the end of the day, just write down things you did during the day. How could you have done it better? What were your thoughts and emotions? Why were your reactions that in that particular circumstance the way they were? How can I correct that the next time? So we have to live consciously. If we just live lives where life happens to us and we try to, live our lives in a self-fulfilling way without making the conscious effort to change it, it's insanity.
Yeah.
So it's insanity for people to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
And Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created the problem in the first place.
No, we sure
So
can't.
if you're having problems in your life, you have to change your consciousness because you are creating the problems that you are experiencing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can get to that position where you take full responsibility for everything in your life and say, I created this, not why I created it. I created this and it's a lesson. What can I learn from this experience? What is this experience trying to teach me? And living life consciously like that, it takes a great deal of effort and it's exhausting. So in the beginning, for me, it was very exhausting. And I would literally say to my higher self, well, take it easy. I've got information overload here. I'm going back to my old me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here and vegetate.
Yeah, I call it ego dismantling, right? It's something that I teach, and I'm kind of I'm kind of crazy about it. I'm like, you're not going to change your reality, and you're not going to become who you know you are if you can't dismantle your ego, right? You have to get out of those lower forms of consciousness, and that can be really hard on the body. And realizing the further away from that, the lower vibrations or the lower thought forms that we get, I think we're being shadow banned, by the way. I have a lot of things on my Facebook that I think keep us shadow banned, so we don't have anybody that I can see watching. But the more we stay in these lower vibrations, I guess, it's interesting, or the more we're trying to get out of them, I find the more people or situations come to try to hold me there. So they'll come in, somebody will trigger an emotion or a thought, and then this is where I have the choice to make a different decision. So I get to choose then to react differently. And I can say in that moment, I see what's happening here. You're trying to keep me, in a lower vibration. You're trying to keep me in the mind control set. And so I look at it and I say, okay, what do you want to show me? Right. And then oftentimes those thoughts and emotions, well, not oftentimes, all the time, it did serve us at some point, whether it be protection, security, love, whatever it is. And I honor it in that moment. And I call that compassionate witnessing, right? Just, honoring what it did for me, what that emotion, what that thought, what that person did for me. And I just say, thank you so much, but I am in no longer need of your service.
Yeah.
And then, but it can be physically exhausting. People, even when you're doing it consciously, you can have anxiety attacks, and you can, go through fasting periods, or, your body just feels different, or sometimes you feel like you're going crazy, and it can last a long time, or maybe you'll have one big purge, and then, be okay for a little while and plateau, and then start again, right? And like you said, asking your higher self, saying, I'm taking a break, I'm going back to the old me, just let me breathe for a second, right? But it's a process, and it's not something you do overnight. You don't just take a weekend class or go through material one time, because as we raise our consciousness, we read the same material different every single time. And I think that's so important to know.
Yeah. Jeff Cloud runs a very good course called Awakening in the Dream. And I I did it with them for about 10 months at one stage. And it's an excellent course. And the reason I did it was because the course focuses on managing your thoughts and emotions and how to become consciously aware of your thoughts and emotions and how to be authentic and in integrity.
Right.
You see, because when you are in authenticity as a vibrating being, you vibrate at your own signature level.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are recognized by the universe because it recognizes your signature level. When you are being inauthentic and not in integrity, the universe doesn't know who you are. So the way to pray is to be a walking prayer.
I love
You
it.
know, always being in authentic and always being in integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that sets up a vibration in your soul body, which is your soul identity. And I, one of my courses, I teach that how to redeem your soul identity. Okay,
I have a,
because many people have lost their soul identity. They don't actually know who they are.
exactly. Well, that's the majority of the planet, right?
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest, it is the majority of us that have no idea who they are. You know, some people even just are walking around going, yeah, well, I guess maybe I have a soul. But I mean, do I really? Because I can't see it. And not a lot of people are going to go and get their aura picture taken, right? That's it's because that's too woo woo. It's too strange. I have a question. I want to bring us back to timelines for a second as we're talking. It's making me think this question may come up. If we can consciously travel to other timelines and see other aspects of self, other lives lived, so and we can see these obviously. It's past, present, and future is all the same, right? Because time's not linear, so this is all the same. I hear a lot, and I've seen this happen where we go to a timeline, and let's just say maybe it's not a favorable timeline. What are your thoughts on going in, witnessing what's happening, and possibly collapsing that timeline for integration? What are your thoughts on that? Is that possible in your mind, or in your teachings or learnings, or um, uh, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah. In my own experience, I was living a very low frequency lifestyle before.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, my morals were something not to get very excited about. My standards and values were very low. I was into drugs, rock and roll, womanizing, and generally behaving badly. And I recognized at that time that there was something wrong with my life. There was just, I needed to get out of that lifestyle, but I didn't know how because there was no alternative
Mhm.
at that time. Because I tried religion, I tried meditation, I tried all sorts of things, and none of it was fulfilling. And then my higher self yanked me out of my complacency, out of my mediocrity, and they said there is something different. And so they started teaching me this stuff. And effectively, what I did, I pulled myself out of that low frequency timeline by learning to live consciously, by being consciously aware of my thoughts and my emotions, by having higher standards of values, by adopting the standard. In 2006, when I left Cape Town to be a good work in Johannesburg, I sat down with my higher self and I said, from now on, this is going to be my standard in life. Anything less than love is not acceptable, not to me or from me. And so I started to try to live on that standard. But by living in that standard, it changed my attitude, it changed the way I perceived life. I saw people being angry in a different kind of way instead of them being a threat or, not understanding why they're angry. I felt compassion for them. They were angry. And that's sad, and it makes you more vulnerable as a person, especially males won't like it because when I began to feel my own vulnerabilities, it was a very uncomfortable feeling for me as a male.
Mhm.
But I decided, well, to hell with it. My higher selves had shown me that we can be male or female because they are male or female. They're androgynous. They don't have any sexual organs, and the one can choose to be male and the other one can choose to be female. So we have both energies running in us. We have male and female energies inherently in our soul body,
Right.
because the electric is predominantly male and the magnetic is predominantly female. So we have these cohabiting beings. And so I had to consciously change my perspectives in life and live consciously aware of my surroundings. And I did things like I would write down the things that I'd been thinking during the day. I would write down what my emotions were. I began to expand my emotional vocabulary. I began to expand my understanding of emotions. And I've got a spreadsheet where I sat down and I looked at how many emotions we actually had, because I wasn't aware. I could probably name 10 or 12 emotions. But then I looked deeply into emotions and I discovered there are 132 different emotions that we can experience. So we have to explore those emotions. We have to become familiar with them. We have to see which of those emotions am I attached to? Which do I experience on a regular basis? And are those emotions low frequency emotions or they're high frequency emotions? And I discovered that I was attached to emotions like guilt, low self-esteem, fear, anger, jealousy, pride.
Yeah.
And as I started to note these emotions, then I put them on my computer as a spreadsheet, and then I sorted those emotions to see which emotions I was more attached to and experiencing more in my life, and which I wasn't experiencing. And when I looked at it, I was horrified,
Yeah.
because the experience I'm most attached to are negative emotions.
And
So,
those are controlled by the fallen angelics.
yeah. So I made a decision then. I would take 2 or 3 emotions. I say, well, today I'm going to feel this emotion. I'm going to stick with it. And the emotion was going to be uh, being fun, having fun, and joyous. So today is going to be my joy day. So I wanted to experience the feeling of joy. So I experimented, I played with it and expanded my range of emotional feelings, so
Mhm.
that when in any situation I just didn't react with an emotion.
Yeah.
I could respond appropriately with the right kind of emotion, with a soft emotion, a deeper emotion, a more directed emotion, a more appropriate emotion towards it. So one can consciously create, an experience of emotional life, which is different from the one we've experiencing.
Mhm.
I did the same for standards and values. I created a spreadsheet of different standards and values. I think I got to about 140 something.
Oh my
And
goodness.
because it included low standards and high standards.
Yeah.
And then I listed those standards which I was living my life according to, and the standards which were not so lekker for me, not so good for me, not the ones that I easily appropriated for myself. And there was one that really got to me, was impeccable, impeccability. Now, how can you live a life of impeccability? And so I struggled with this one for ages. And then I realized impeccability means being impeccable with your thoughts and your emotions. It's
Mm.
not impeccable in terms of the way you clean your house. That's part of it. That's part of the emotional response to impeccability. But impeccability is being impeccable with your thoughts and emotions. So I worked all my way through all those standards and values and decided, well, this is the standard and value that I want. I want to be confident. I want to be diligent. I want to be punctual. I want to be, considerate. I want to be, you know, curious. I want to be, open. I want to be, and so I looked at all these things and said, which ones do I want to experience? So I
And
broadened my experience of my life, and I was able to lift myself onto a higher frequency timeline. And that lifted me into, higher domains in multidimensional living, where I was able to go into council meetings, higher dimensional council meetings, because I had the right attitude, I had the right approach to people. I was respectful, I was kind, I was gentle, because that's what the beings out there,
yeah,
the ETs think that we are the aliens.
I know, and we're kind of Neanderthal, right? Like we're like language, verbal language. The way that I understand from them is it's very archaic. It's very primitive for us to speak like this, right? Um, which is why I think communication is so challenging because they're just these words that are man-made constructs when naturally we're designed telepathically. I just actually yesterday pulled up in your, um, I believe it's in one of your teachings and it's about going into the hologram. I clicked on one of the things and it was your entire list of emotions to go through. And I thought, oh dear, I've got some work to do. When I saw that list, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going on, this is going beyond just your typical, right? Um, do you think that people have to experience fear in order to experience and understand love? Or do you think they don't have to know all of the spectrums?
No, I don't think people need to experience fear in order to understand love. But fear does obviously give, by juxtaposition, it does give a better understanding of love. But if you're looking at love through the lens of fear, then you're not looking at love at all.
I find that so many of our children and our human souls that come in, perhaps with special needs or autism or Down syndrome. I really find that there is this authentic connection to source, and it's like they don't. Uh, it's not that they don't have to experience fear because I think it can be learned, right? But just that authenticity of, and I don't know why I'm bringing this up. It's just popping into my mind. And I think that they're answering my own question of no, you don't have to experience fear to experience love. But, just having a higher, often they just have a higher vibration, right? And are sometimes not even audible, which is less archaic than you and I having this conversation like we're having. So there's just so much beauty around us. I think that's what we're getting at. Is there's so much beauty around us, and it's been taken for granted, and
Yeah.
it's been cataloged as fears, anxieties, depression. Even people will say, like, I'm in Washington State. It's beautiful here. It's green, but it can be cold. It's rainy, and people are like, I hate the rain, and this is so depressing, and I hate being here, and it's damp. And I'm like, it's beautiful. It's mossy. It's green. The rain washes away your worries. I'm like, it's just like you can it's all the things, right? And it's perception. It's perception. It's what do you want it to be, right? I mean, obviously if it's cold, but so put layers on. But how we perceive things is really should be the new reality. It I wish that I wish that for humanity it was just known that you get to choose how to be and who you want to be, and I feel like we're getting closer to that, right? But
Yeah.
you know, breaking down these constructs and bringing reality. Like, are we going to have new? You know, you and I both I'm from Galactic Center, so from Lyra, but spent many, many, many lives in Sirius, and you remember much, much more than I do. But do you see new, you know, bringing in our old teachings as our new reality, bringing the real history in? Is, you know, do you think that's going to happen?
Well, it's happening already. I've been teaching now since 2014, so 6 years, and I've taught many courses with different people. I've done many shows like this one with you. I'm doing my own course. I'm teaching. Or I've got my Facebook posts every day where I put over little snippets of information and knowledge. And today I was reading a post from somebody and I thought, did I write this? And then I saw I didn't. The other person, but they were using my words.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, they were using my perspectives, and I
Mhm.
thought, wow, this is amazing. This world's changing.
Isn't that great? I I love it. You know, when we feel that connected and we notice that connectivity, I can't say the word. You know, just we see that the thoughts are getting out there. You know, the mindsets are changing, and you're right, we already are doing that. So um, yes, we're just going to take a little bit of a um, yes, Colin.
Can you keep the show going for a minute?
I can, yeah, yeah. Take your little mini break. Um, so in terms of, you know, bringing back mystery school teachings, you know, that's something that so many of us have been doing. And, you know, we're bringing them back from cellular memory, from planets that we've lived. And I know that even the earth souls, the earth beings are waking up. You know, it's not just, you know, the indigos and the star seeds are we're definitely here for activation and helping to activate DNA codes and things like that within each other. But the humans, Earth humans, are waking up as well, and I believe they're also going to remember their histories and be sharing the true histories. And my hope is that, you know, we get the fake cabal, fallen angelic systems out, and you know, we rewrite our history books. And you know, maybe it takes time, maybe it takes a century. It doesn't matter. They need to be rewritten, and the history needs to be told. And you know, it's going to be unfortunate. We see that bifurcation happening right now, and the bifurcation, you know, is the split in reality. So it's a it. I guess I see it as a timeline split. So the ones that are uh, higher vibration. Some people say fifth dimension. I really don't like to put those tags on it, you know, but you know, there's a lower vibration and a higher vibration. Neither one of them are better than the other. It just is what it is. It is what it is. And um, what I'm finding fascinating, Colin, is that those of us that have are where we are, there are many of us that are actually able to, and this is creating reality, right? This is manifesting and controlling the hologram. We're able to go back and forth between third and fifth dimension. And this is what the Lemurians were able to do, right? So when they first came, and I've had some memories from timelines there, and it was told to me, oh, it's no wonder you like the Pacific Northwest so much. I, so like where I was galactically before I came here, and then straight into Moo, and then now I'm in Washington and I haven't left. So, um, but I like it out here. But you know, we're able to go back and forth into these realities, and I'm really hoping that more and more are able to do that. And as there are more of us bringing in these memories, that we are going to be the ones that help rewrite the true history, right? that we are the ones that bring back the true science and
Yeah.
the new old real math structures, right? So because math should be easy, we shouldn't be sitting there going, I don't get it. And you don't get it because it's not real. It's synthetic.
It's not universal maths, it's man-made maths, and it's a false mathematical system that we have here. It's false science. Everything here is false. So
Yes.
yeah, it's changing, and it's changing rapidly. Even what's happening, in the US elections, and I know we've been bombarded with so much information about it. But I have confidence that there's a guardian alliance, which are our higher selves, our other galactic beings, working with the Earth Alliance, and that's how they because the guardian's intelligence is far greater than the Earth intelligence.
Yeah.
Intelligence is just information. They can tap into every thought and every word and every deed that every single human being is doing on this planet.
Yes.
So they come with far, far more advanced technical and scientific and intelligence that is far superior to Earth intelligence. So it's not going to take them too long to get rid of the fallen ones on the planet. And
that's what I hold on to. The fallen ones know us better than we know us, and that's been our detriment. Been our detriment. And I'm with you. Like I can feel the holding pattern. Like I feel like it's just enough is enough. And I've always been pro mass disclosure. Like, why can't they just rip off the Band-Aid? And I understand it can cause some psychosis, and so I don't really know what the big plan is, right? But I'm for rip off the Band-Aid. Just get it over with. Sit everybody down, right? Sit them all down in front of the TV. That's what they're doing anyway. And then pump up the frequencies that they need. It's simple. Sounds so simple. If we can get mind wiped with holographic inserts, then they can mind wipe us with the truth, right?
Yeah, there's a process that we're going through that has many processes within it. There's the process of getting rid of the fallen ones, so the process of bringing in new information, there's the process of preparing humans to receive the frequencies, the higher frequencies that are coming through, because we're in an ascension cycle. And, it works in a particular way, and it's got a certain timeline of events and certain things that have to happen. And it's not a done thing or a sure thing, but it's happening in a very certain way. And so we can depend on that. And all these processes are happening. So, my own view is what I do is I just go look within and ask myself, what is happening? What is really happening? So when I hear news, and ask what is really happening, and then usually I get the answer from within. I don't go to the mainstream media or social media or look for answers there. I look for the answers within, because everything is within one. Your intuition is far smarter than the mainstream press.
Yes, it is. When we learn to quiet our mind and we sit in our soul center, just allow our soul and our spirit to take over, right? To control our central nervous system and our etheric central nervous system. That's where all the answers are. We're hooked in. We already have the knowledge. It's just about asking the right questions. Well, Colin, I'm so grateful for you today. Thank you. I'm just starting to get into your specific teachings on mastering the hologram, and I'm loving it. Like I said, I'm going to have a lot of emotions to go through. So I'm going to open it back up when we get off, and I'm going to choose 3 different emotions for the week. So I think I'll write about them on my page and kind of see what comes up and see what kind of see if I can get other people to practice it as well. So anyway, thank you so much.
If folks can contact me on Facebook, if they want that spreadsheet on emotions, and it really is a worthwhile exercise to actually get the spreadsheet and to do a self-evaluation, do the sort, and see which emotions you're most attached to and what value they are to you in terms of, so you give a number to each emotion in terms of its value to you, and how often you experience that emotion. There are two columns. So how often you experience that emotion and its value in terms of frequency, in terms of its worth to you as a human being.
Yeah.
Like love is very high, it's high worth, So yeah. And that's, people have to get real, because I had to do that in order to get myself out of the timeline that I was on, and create my own destiny and create my own reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it takes effort, but the effort's well worth it. And in the end, I really feel that I'm not only changing my own destiny, I'm changing the destiny of the planet as well.
And you are, and we are. Every
everyone contributes towards the collective energy on the planet, because our energy is going to the Earth's grids. The Earth's grids carry that around. So everybody's contributing into the Earth's grids, their own energies. And the higher the frequency of the energy they run in their body, the higher the frequency in the Earth goes. And lifting Mother Earth's frequencies will enable her to hold the frequencies that are coming in, to distribute those frequencies to us.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I'm picturing, I can see how it's moving. So thank you for that. I'm visualizing that. It's really beautiful. And then I picture us in our axational alignments and our meridians, and how they all do this, from our vertical channels and our central nervous system. It comes out and then it goes into the planet. It's so exciting. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for today, Colin. I think we have I think there's a possibility we were shadow banned today on Facebook, which is fine. I put it on a few places, so it's not usual that we wouldn't have people come in for questions, but Facebook isn't so keen on me. So I am going to look and see, maybe if this is how it's going to be for a while, we may look at other platforms and see if we can go live on other platforms. And kind of start over there and see what happens. But until then, thank you so much, you guys. Everyone, do check out the writings of colinjoe.com. Amazing classes. I'm hearing really positive feedback, and I'm learning a lot of things too. Really, things that I've not been able to put all together and make sense of. And I'm like, aha, that's what it is, start putting these pieces together. So Colin, you do an amazing job explaining things, and that's appreciated. Thank you. I guess that's it. There's always so much more to talk. I mean, I could talk to you forever as usual. I have so much to say, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody that listens, past, present, and future. So thank you so much. And I hope that we, master the highest level of reality and love that we can. Think it, believe it, master it, and be it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And love being with you and the audience and all those going to be watching. Yeah. Much love to you all.
All right. Much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.